standardized assessment locally and globally. Good day, everyone. Welcome to Walk the Talk Show with the episode 1. And in today's episode, we will be talking and we will be exploring about standardized assessment in the local and the global areas. So this episode, everyone, we will be exploring, we will be having a larger scope in which we will also be tackling standardized assessments that is in local and in global areas. We will be talking about what will and what must students apply, and an assessment that would assess our students in their future. And in today's episode, of course, we'll be having guests, and of course, we'll also be learning from our guests in what would be explored in the standardized assessments locally and globally. We'll also be knowing our guests for this particular topic in this episode. Without further ado, let's go! Alright, hello once again and good day everyone, and welcome back to the Walk the Talk Show with Dee, and I will be your host in today's episode. So again, today's episode we'll be exploring the standardized assessment locally and globally. Of course, with our lovely guests, with our lovely educators from Cebu Technological University. Of course, we will be learning from them and we will be asking them questions in regards to the standardized assessment in the local and global area. Alright, so of course, let us all welcome our esteemed guests, starting with...
Good morning, Mr. D. So I am Jude Allen Cabuenas, a student at Cebu Technological University and also a sophomore, second year student.
Wow, so you are currently taking
Bachelor of Technological Livelihood Education, so major in home economics.
So, home economics, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
you are in the tech voc part, right?
Yes,
You're
yeah.
into skills,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah, that's a good course you have there. I think that would also help the students to understand more about assessments, since we are talking about skills, right? How about our guest number 2?
Yes, good morning, Mr. D, and I'm Alexa Digamo, also from Cebu Technological University, and same with Jude, we're together, we're classmates.
Oh, your classmates.
Yes.
So you're also taking Bachelor of Technology in Livelihood Education. Yeah. So you're also having the major of home economics.
Yeah, home economics.
I believe you also, right? So can you also please give and state your name?
Mr. D. So I am currently at Riyadh and also studying in Cebu Technological University, taking up the Bachelor of Technology and Livelihood Education, major in home
Home
economics.
economics.
We
Alright.
are classmates.
Okay, so the 3 of you are classmates. So, alright, I would really, of course, extend my heartfelt gratitude of having this time to take up the challenge of course, having our viewers to understand our standardized assessment in terms of our local and global area. Because I believe that most especially in your area and in your field, since you're talking about TLE and you're taking TLE as your course at this point in your college of education, right?
Yes.
So I believe that this is also very fit, into which we are taking or we are looking at the capabilities and skills of our students, right? And in fact, standardized assessment could also be one of the factors that the students could understand any assessments in the future, right? So thank you so much again once for taking this challenge. And all right. So again, good day everyone, and of course, in this episode, we will be talking about the ideas. We walk off the pages and into our lives. We will be, of course, having and understanding the effect of millions of students, teachers, and even national policies, standardized assessment. Now the question is, have you ever heard about NAT or PISA, right? Or TOEFL. So NAT stands for National Achievement Test, right? So, well, from our guests, I believe that all of you are having your grade 6 in your elementary days, and in your high school days, you're also undergoing that particular standardized assessment, right? I believe that is also part of the standardized assessment because the National Achievement Test is, of course, having and taking the local or the unified capabilities of students, right? Because in the National Achievement Test, it will not be focusing on one subject, right? So we will also be focusing on other subjects. So the question is, how would you give your experience, or can you at least give me some of your experience and maybe understanding of how that particular standardized assessment test, which is specifically the NAT, affects the students and teachers in terms of assessment and learning. Yeah.
For me, I have experience taking NAT, or the National Achievement Test. So far as I observe, many students find math and science are difficult. So schools in cities usually get higher scores than in the rural areas. So that's my observation in taking the math.
So thank you so much. How about Miss Alexa, right?
Yeah, so it's just my insight. So I think standardized tests like the NAT, it helps identify the weaknesses and the strengths of the curriculum. So it guides the school to change their teaching strategies to meet the students' learning needs.
Alright, so thank you so much, Miss Alexa. How about Miss?
As I experienced NAT, which is the National Achievement Test, so I observed that the standardized assessment like NAT gives us snapshot on how the students performing across the region, and which is invaluable for identifying the gaps in education.
Alright, so thank you so much. I believe that's your understanding and your experience in terms of taking NAT, right, for the National Achievement Test. And basically, of course, at this point of time, that's all. That's just a brief explanation, or just a brief understanding of the parts of standardized assessment. And of course, we'll get to talk about the test that talks back through scores, data, and decision makings. But before anything else, we'll be back in a few minutes. Waves it.
Sa tuwin ay naalala ka, sa pangarap laging kasama ka. Ikaw ang alaala sa aking pag-iisa. Wala nang ibigin pang iba.
In the Philippines, standardized assessments are major tools in our education system. One of the most recognized, as what we have mentioned earlier, is what we call National Achievement Test. And this is administered, of course, to the upcoming graduating students or moving up students, such as grade 6, we have grade 10, and also grade 12 students. And in this time, we will be going and digging deeper about National Achievement Test, of how would really, we will be exploring its effects, or we will be exploring what would National Achievement Test gives and contributes to the teachers and most especially to the students. All right, so I'll be, of course, asking for insights. No, thank you again so much for having this time. Now, since we're talking about National Achievement Test earlier, of course, you're also able to give the brief explanations, right, of what is National Achievement Test. Now, I believe that most of you are also able to encounter NAT, right? Most especially in your elementary and high school days. Because I myself also, I think a few years ago, I was also taking up. I think NAT is also the what we call NKAI right now.
Yes.
Yeah, NKAI, right? I think that's the other alternative or the other name of NAT. Yeah, and I was taking it, and I think I would say that it really is different and very difficult, most especially it would really depend on a lot of considerations. Now, may I ask for any of your insights about National Achievement Tests? Yes.
I think the NOT helps students to in order to perform well in the class. So that's my answer.
So perform well.
Yeah.
Right. So, since you're talking about perform well, I believe that basically National Achievement Test, of course, is covering up all subjects,
All
right?
subjects.
So, it would really, contribute to the students, most especially in looking back and in looking and in, of course, integrating such knowledge to the students. Yeah, I would agree to that. How about you, Miss Alex?
Yeah, for me, it's reading. The reading builds understanding, not just the English subject, but all the subjects.
Subjects. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
talking about reading,
Yeah.
reading and understanding,
Yeah,
right?
understanding.
Yeah, because basically, together with my colleagues, when I was, of course, taking NKAI or taking the National Achievement Test, of course, most of my colleagues always said or always says that I would say in vernacular, which means in our pinulungan, in our
Yeah.
language, they usually said, ay, ako ra tong gibintot-bintot. Or they usually said that, basta mo na to yung answer kay taas man. And yes, I would agree that it would really be a greater effect if you are able to read and understand, right? Not just English, but also a lot,
Yeah.
right? All subjects, because each subject has a bigger contribution, of course, to the students, right? Yeah, that's a good answer. Yes.
So the biggest factor of the NAN, it just like Jude's insight. So it helps the students. It helps the students perform best when the teaching closely matches what is tested. That's all.
So, how do you like? Do we really have any challenges in taking that in schools? For example, we have the resources, of course,
Yeah, the
right?
resources is very limited.
I
We have
think
limited
it can
resources.
Yeah, I think you're talking about resources. Yeah, I believe that resources is very, very what we call how do I say this? Something that is very significant in terms of assessment, and it's very critical, most especially that if the school will not be able to reach that gap in terms of resources, because resources boils down to, of course, the process. No, without the resources, there will be no proper process, and there will be no distinguishing of knowledge in that particular area, right?
I agree with that.
So yeah, we will agree with that, because that's part of the challenge. It's not just about NAT, right? And I think even examinations. Are you familiar of any examination aside from NAT?
Periodical.
Periodical exam. Yes. Like, how about a must examination that the teachers would take?
Yeah, the licensure examination for teachers.
Right, the licensure examination for teachers, the LET, of course. So that's why most of the graduating students, most especially under the education, they'll be having a review. They'll be having a lot of understanding, in terms of reviewing their topics, because the LET, no, of course, is a must examination for the teachers, because you will not be able to have your license if you are not able to pass in the LEP. No? I think that's LEP right now, licensure examination for professional teachers. Yeah, so that's good, and yeah, we're talking about licensure examination, and again, I will be having this time to mention that it is always a must pass. So a must pass meaning you should and you must pass that in order for you to have your license and for you to be a teacher. In fact, that's a license for a teacher. Alright, so that's a lot of things that we are to internalize and we are to understand right there, in most especially in the National Achievement Test and in connection to the licensure examination for professional teachers, right? And of course, at this point, we'll be back for having another topic or another segment for today's episode.
Pagbangon tayo. Para kanino ka bumabangon?
Babangon tayo, susulong tayo. Babangon tayo, susulong tayo.
Babangon tayo. Susulong tayo. Babangon tayo. Susulong tayo.
Babangon tayo.
All right, welcome back everyone. And since we're talking about LAT and NAT earlier, so that is part of the local spotlight, of course, for the Philippines. What we call the standardized assessment. That's what I have here, right? And now, since we're done with the local, so we will be talking about the global, right? So, what are the global, or what is the assessment that is inside global? Are you familiar with?
That's PISA,
Yeah, PISA, right? This is a program for international students
Students
assessment, right? So in fact, if you will be looking at the statistics of PISA, I believe that Philippines ranks low, right? Now, do you have any idea why Philippines ranks low at this time? Yep. Lack of. In fact, if you will also be looking to the history, based on my research, the Philippines, when they, of course, joined the assessment for PISA, they are, I think, 5 or 6 years behind. No, of course, I believe that if I am to have a test together with students that are having higher education than me, knowing that I am, of course, away or below, or yeah, I think 6 years, or yeah, 6 years is already a big gap, of course, in human understanding and knowledge. And I would say that I cannot guarantee myself to have a higher ratings in that, right? So since we're talking about PISA, of course, this is one of the biggest name of the world through assessments, right? So do you have any understanding about PISA?
I guess it is important to. It is because it shows how they compare students from other country to country, so it helps improve education.
Yeah, it improves education. Since we're talking about country to country. Yes.
Yes, I think PISA is not just about memorizing facts. It tests how students will apply what they have learned to solving real-world problems.
So solving real world problems.
Yes.
So helping education and then solving real world problems. So how about Miss Vera?
So when we look at the international assessment like PISA, we see many countries stuck in reading, math, science, and it is a global bench making tools that does not just evaluate the student's performance but also to reflect the quality of education system.
All right, so quality of education system. So yeah, when you were talking about quality education system, I was also able to remember the SDG. If you're familiar with SDG, right, the sustainable development goals. I think that's 17, right? 17. And in terms of quality education, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's in the fourth or fifth in which quality education is. And yes, you're talking about solving real life problems and helping education. Of course, I believe that in our state today, I could say that in the future there will be a possibility that maybe the Philippines could have a higher ranking, right? Because PISA, since we're talking about global, so we'll be facing not just one, but multiple countries. And in fact, multiple countries in which they focus first, no? When we say first or primarily, because of course we know that the Philippines were colonized, right? And that's where they are able to have a quality, they are able to understand and know what education is because of Spain colonizing the Philippines together with the United States of America, right? And that's where there is a proper education in that particular time. And knowing that the Philippines are able to understand and grasps rather the concept of education late than the other countries, of course, I would say that it would really have a big effect, no? Of course, to the ratings of our country, right? So it's good to understand PISA because I believe that PISA will also be a statistical overview or perspective for a particular country if that particular country is growing in quality, in education, in knowledge, and understanding. So that's a good points we have there. That's a good understanding. That's a good perspective you have there in terms of the one of the biggest name in our global and world through assessments, which is PISA, or what was PISA meant again?
Program.
A program, right? Program for International Students Assessment. Okay, that's good. And of course, I also heard another familiar global part of our global stage international assessment test or standardized test, in which I think you are also familiar with it. It is what we call the test of English, as a foreign language. English as a secondary language is ESL, and TOEFL is the test of English as a foreign language. So, do you have any insights in terms of the TOEFL or the test of English as a foreign language?
For me, it's check how well someone can read, listen, speak, and write in English, especially studying in foreign country.
Foreign country. Yes.
Yeah, I think TOFL is very important. So many university abroad requires this TOFL because it helps students to thrive more even in English environment. So it tests their reading, their listening skills, and their writing skills.
Writing skills.
Yes.
Yes.
So test of English as a foreign language. So it plays a key role in the students who are aiming to study abroad. So it is just not test the grammar or the vocabulary, but also it is it challenges how you integrate in reading, in writing, and also in listening, and also in speaking, just like you do in your university.
All right. So basically, it really focuses on reading.
Yes.
Really. Yeah, I also was able to understand, and I don't know if you're familiar, but I was also able to remember the word TOI. I think TOEIC. That's TOEIC. TOEIC. Yeah, I think that's about. Some of the university also had this assessment because this is also an assessment. This is about tests in English. I think yeah, in English I wasn't able to have the history, but that's part of that TOEFL. You know, since we're talking about English as foreign language, and TOEIC is also referring to the testing and the capabilities, no? Assuring that the students are able to read, comprehend, understand, of course, and also with the sense of hearing. No? I also have someone who take this particular assessment in their university. She always mentioned that it is really not easy for them because one of the aims for this assessment also will be our hearing. So there will be an assessment in which they will be having a hearing test. There will be words that will be pronounced, and they will be having a test for that. They will be, of course, providing the proper spellings. Yeah, and maybe the pronunciation even. And aside from hearing, there will also be comprehension in such words, in such terms, in reading, and in, of course, that's for what I've mentioned earlier, the spelling, right? So this is very similar to that assessment. This also part of the global stage international standardized test. This is a very large scope because this will not be able to stand out into just one, but to many countries, right? So I believe that this is a very, very good preparation when you are planning to study, or even to study abroad, or even to teach abroad, right? This is very that's why we are also encouraged to try a Global Edge language review, or review center of the global in Edge language, right? So that's very good. And I think we will be having our comparison on the context of the National Achievement Test, the Licensure Examination Test, or for teachers, or the LEPT. We also have the PISA and the TOEFL. But we will be having that contrast and comparison on the next few minutes. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Imagine
Learning.
endless opportunities,
Infinity.
harmony,
Inspire. Elevate. Friendship.
Journey.
Preparation. Believe you will achieve.
Together.
we are the home of tigers.
All right, so thank you so much for staying tuned in this episode for the Walk the Talk show with D. So it is a talk show that, of course, will be elaborating, exploring about standardized assessment. And since we're talking about NAT, the LEPT, the PISA, and the TOEFL, well, of course, the guests will also be having their insights and giving their understanding of the comparison of the context, or the content of each of the standardized assessment tests. So I think you're ready to give your answers. Yes. I think it's good. You're good at it.
So NOT is it tests how the students learn school subjects, and PISA also LET measures the teaching knowledge and skills, and the PISA it evaluates the students how they apply their knowledge in real life situation, and also the
EFL. Yeah.
TFL, it used for studying or working abroad.
Yes.
I think the NAT focuses mostly on Filipino subjects, the math, the English, science, or Araling Panlipunan, which is held only here in the Philippines, while the LET, or licensure exam for teachers, they only take focuses on general education, professional education, and their majors. And lastly, the PISA, or the Program for International Students Assessment, uh, their focuses mostly on reading, the math, the science, and how they apply it to the real world situation.
Real world situation. Yes.
Yes, so it evaluates students' academic achievement in basic education. So while LET is qualifies future teachers through a comprehensive licensure exam, while PISA measures students' problem-solving skills on a global scale. So and TOEFL assess English language ability for academic and professional purposes.
Professional purposes. So I really like your answers because it really gives specifications, right? So I bet that your understanding, your insights are very well, of course, constructed, right? And I really appreciate how your insights also gives me another perspective in terms of the standardized assessment. So you're talking about NAT as, or the National Achievement Test, as something that is focusing only on mathematics, English, Filipino, right? Was it Aralpan or Araling Palipunan part of? I think it's history, right? History, yeah. And of course the LET or the LEPT, the licensure examination for professional teachers. This is for this focusing on the professional education and the general education together with the major if they are taking now of course majors such as secondary education major in, right? So yeah, thank you so much for having that insight. And in terms of, so we are able to contrast the local and the global standardized assessment, right? Since we're talking about PISA and TOEFL, so these are part of the global standardized assessment. You know? So this will be taking the larger scope, right, of that particular assessment. So I was able to gain a lot and was able to understand a lot more in such insights that you have there. So I am very thankful, and I believe our viewers are also able to understand a lot of things that would also be an enlightenment for them, right? So, of course, here's for our viewers. Since we are having now to, of course, closely end our program or our episode for this talk show, or what we call Walk the Talk Show with Dee as your host. So if you have any questions, you can just comment down below and write it in the comment section for us to understand and to answer that certain questions that you have right there. If there are any suggestions, if there are any clarifications, well, of course, I am also open for that particular suggestions, right? So those are people from this production. Yeah. All right. So thank you so much, and I'm very glad that we're able to tackle this particular assessment, standard assessment, for us to understand in the near future as we're able to take this standardized assessment, most especially for the upcoming teachers. We will be taking the licensure examination for professional teachers, and of course. For today's video or for today's episode, again, I would like to thank all the sponsors, all the following sponsors, of course, for this program, most especially that this episode is powered by the Infinix Click Studio, a studio in which we will be able to have a lot of scope also. So they will be having having a service of a lot of sets, right? And a lot of responsibilities and roles, of course. So that's all for this time, and that's all for what we have in the Walk the Talk show with D as your host. And I would just like to wrap up everything that whether it is NAT or the National Achievement Test, or whether it is PISA, whether it is LET, or whether it is TOEFL, remember that these assessments aren't just about numbers. These are about reflecting the system's dreams and futures of our students and teachers. Now, don't forget to like, follow, and share. Catch you next time. And of course, this is the Walk the Talk show with me. Thank you so much.